All right, so today, yesterday we started talking about two new kinds of graphs, stem and leaves and box and whiskers. So we'll start with our stem and leaf graph. This whole thing here is what we call a stem and leaf. Everything to the left of the bar is considered a stem, and then our values to the right of the bar would be all the individual leaves. Okay, and we have a key here that tells us how to read it. Alright, so it says 36 bar 4 represents 364. So this value right here is 364. Okay, this value here would be 370. 375. Alright, so these are three different values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different values. So looking at our key, we can figure out that this stem is the 360s. This is the 370s. This represents all of our 380s. This represents all of our 390s. Reason we do this is just a different way to give you a set of numbers. Yes, the other night we just gave you a string of numbers, 10 or 15. Calculate the mean, median, mode for those values. All a stem and leaf is just another way to represent those values. They're organized. It's ready to go. We just need to make sure we can still calculate these 7 from a stem and leaf. Okay, so again, all the definitions are the same. So the mode would be our value we see the most, which would be these 3 7s. So that stands for 387. Our range, same definition, max minus min. So our biggest number in this set is 397, and our smallest number is 364. So we have a range of 33. So again, those are the two spot checks that we can make. Comes to calculating our mean, 300. We got to add all these together. And this is where we have all of our mistakes because we miss a number or we type one in wrong. So I'm getting a total of 6,532. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And we want to divide that by 17 values. So I am getting an average of 384.2. Okay. Again, I'm pretty confident in that answer because 384 does fit right in this area here, approximately the middle. Okay, remember we talked the other day, if we get an average that's way up here big or way up here on the small side, then we've typed something in wrong. We need to recalculate. All right, got to find our median. Mark off the small, mark off the big. Mark off the small to big, 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 small to big. Median is 387. Works out quite nicely. All right, our quartiles then. Remember, upper quartile, that is the middle of our big numbers. So once we find the median, we've now established everything above that is considered a big number. So we want to, same technique, small to big, small to big. So our upper quartile is going to be located between 390 and 391. So that would be the middle of that is 390.5. Our lower quartile is going to be the middle of all of our small numbers. So again, we use our median as our cutoff. Small to big, small to big, small to big. So our lower quartile is going to be between 375, 382. This one's not quite as obvious as this one up here. So again, our technique, we can add those two together, divide by 2, and we come up with 378.5. Interquartile range, remember range, we want to be subtracting. This tells us to subtract our quartiles. So 390.5 minus 378.5 is 12. All right, so again, just more of the same 7 here. We're just presenting the numbers to you in a different format. We still have to be able to calculate these. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of kids that just take a stem and leaf as soon as they see it, and they just rewrite everything in one gigantic list because they're more comfortable that way than trying to work with this. That's completely acceptable. That's your choice. But whatever works for you, we still got to be able to calculate these 7. So that's a stem and leaf. The next graph that we need to be able to work with is called a box and whisker. And now what a box and whisker does for us is it kind of creates a visual of our data. Okay, now it's not going to be able to represent everything, but we can get a lot from it. So to build our box and whiskers, we're going to start with our number line. Okay, and if we go up, we look at our data set. We can see that our data starts at 364. So we're going to start our number line at 360. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of space down here. And then our biggest number is 397. So we want to go to 400. So nice scale probably. Go ahead and count by 5s. 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 400. Okay, so obviously I left way too much space here. All right, so again, but that happens, so we just have to make an adjustment. There. All right, so when it comes to box and whisker, we need to mark 5 spots. We need to mark our smallest value, so 364. So we're going to approximate our minimum. Okay. And then obviously then we need to get our maximum, 397. So we've marked the min, we've marked the max. We also need to label our median, 387. And 2 more dots. We need a dot in between the min and the median. That happens to be your quartile, your lower quartile, so 378. And then we need a dot in between our med and our max, which is our upper quartile, 390. So once we get our 5 points, we use our quartiles to make our 2 boxes, and then we have our 2 whiskers. Okay, we have our 2 whiskers. So we've made a box and whisker graph. And as we go through the rest of this chapter, we'll be seeing these and we'll be talking more about them. But we want to make sure we can build a box and whisker. Okay, and the last thing we need to recognize about our box and whisker, there's 4 parts. Each of these parts represents 25%. Okay, and now some of you may be saying, well, how in the world can these 2 different boxes both represent 25%? Remember, when we're talking about box and whisker graphs, this represents how close the numbers are in the set or how far apart the numbers are in the set. This does not represent how many. Okay, this is more of a range thing. Okay, so we can see that, for example, this bottom 25%, this whisker is longer than this whisker. Okay, so what that tells me is the top scores are close together, the bottom scores are spread out. These scores are spread out, all the scores in here are closer together. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we go through working with our box and whiskers. All right, we'll see you tomorrow to do more. Have a good night.